This is part two, y'all. So let me start up as I was before. It says internal weaknesses, political instability and corruption, a long period of ineffective leadership, and constant internal conflict led to civil wars and a lack of consistent governance. So what they're saying right here is they're saying that DJT is going to cause for there to be no more democracy, and he's actually making all of the Democrats an enemy unto him, and he's not funding. He's basically firing all of the Democrats, and he's saying that he's not going to fund them anymore. He's basically making his enemies his actual enemies, and he's trying to destroy them, but they are a part of the country, which means he's causing a complete division between that said country, right? So here's another thing, right? Economic crisis, high taxes, crippling inflation. And now the inflation is bad right now, but it's not as bad as it can get, or that it is going to get in the near future. And it says an over-reliance on slave labor strained the economy, especially as expansion slowed and the influx of new slaves decreased. So this very same thing is happening now, like high taxes. That's one thing that is happening that people are extremely furious about. Crippling inflation. Inflation is when things that were, an example, things that were $1 before, that same dollar cannot buy the same thing, and this time is being devalued. And it says an over reliance on slave labor strained the economy. So relying on the labor of the Northern Kingdom, basically, and the Southern Kingdom. But as a matter of fact, let me go to this to see. Salaki says Rome's reliance on slave labor contributed to its downfall by creating economic and social imbalances, stifling innovation, and leading to a critical labor shortage when the supply of new slaves from conquest dried up. Yep, so as they were getting workers from Northern Kingdom to come on through here, right? Those were supposed to be some new workers, but they weren't. Once DJT got back into office, into power, he caused that to go away, which they are. And not only did he cause the new so-called Hispanic workers to leave, he's causing for the old ones, the ones who did a lot of our agricultural work, where they was out there with the fruit and vegetables. They picked all of those, and they planted a lot of those, and they did a lot of the work concerning the farm, like the mass farming and all of that, and just things that dealt with those type of jobs. And they're not willing, they're putting them out, so who else is going to do that job? Like Southern Kingdom is not going to do those jobs, because they were paying Northern Kingdom, the so-called Hispanics, pennies on a dollar, or basically they was paying them way less for the jobs that they were doing. And Southern Kingdom knows better not to accept those type of jobs for the least amount of money that they were getting paid, right? That Northern Kingdom was getting paid. So, that's going to cause an internal conflict due to the fact that who's going to do those jobs now? Esau got rid of the people who actually did those jobs and made things work in this country. Now those jobs aren't being occupied anymore. Now it's going to cause a shortage, which will cause a famine, right? So it says these internal and external pressures. Salaki, I didn't even get through all of it. It says barbarian invasions and migrations, the division of the empire, which is happening now due to ICE going to get everybody, right? and the widespread corruption and social decay. These internal and external pressures weakened the empire over centuries. Okay, I read that. Did I get this? Yeah, a long period of ineffective leadership and constant internal. Yeah, I read this. Economic crisis, the high taxes, crippling inflation, over reliance on slave labor, okay, especially in expansion slowed and influx of new slaves decreased. Social decay, the erosion of traditional Roman values and the growing gap between the rich and poor contributed to a weakening of the social fabric and widespread discontent, right? So that's actually what's happening right now in Babylon the Great. People are realizing that they are not getting paid as much as they should. The one before, there was once a middle class, and they're making it to where now there's no such thing as a middle class. It's either you're rich or you're poor. And people are starting to notice this, and they're furious of this. And the people who were once the middle class is gone, this country is over with, because the rich are going to be rich and the poor are going to stay poor, and then they're going to realize that there's no in between anymore, which will cause the poor to rise up against the rich and the rich to rise up against the poor, which is going to cause a division, which internal conflict creates civil war. What else, y'all? All right, so we're going to go to external pressures, right? Like the outside pressures. And it says barbarian invasions, which they will consider this as the and it could possibly be in the near future invasions from these other these other countries that has it out for Babylon the Great. It could be something like along the lines of that, but I will say that this is from this so-called Hispanics that he allowed by the hundreds of thousands into the country due to Babylon the Great displacing them from out of their countries, because they caught a political collapse and an economic collapse in their country. So they allowed them to come over to this country, which now DJT is trying to get them from out of the country. So now this is I'm going to read barbarian invasions. It says the Huns pushed Germanic tribes such as the Visigoths and the Vandals into Roman territory, leading to widespread invasions that stretched the empire's resources. Yep, this is exactly that. So they allowed the Northern Kingdom to come in, and Northern Kingdom depleted the governmental benefits and all of that. And that's part of the reason why there's a government shutdown right now, because they have no more money to fund the things that were once funded, right? Due to all of the resources being depleted due to the bad decisions of the last government. But the thing is that this was all prophetic to happen. This is all the same things to show that Babylon the Great and the Roman Empire are not too far away from being mirrored, identical twins. You know, they are they're almost identical, like for real. You know, if before they was looking like fraternal, now they're identical. But military decline, it says the army faced challenges recruiting Roman citizens, which that's another thing that's happening now, because people are young ones are saying that they ain't fighting for no country such as this one. So, you know, it's a lot of craziness that's popping off. Let me go. This is part 2, y'all. I'm about to start part 3.